The first thing you're going to need to do is take one of your pieces of clay and remove some of it so that you can save it for sculpting and possibly adding a floor later. This one just had a little piece of schmutz on there, so I took it off. With the larger of the two pieces of clay, you just need to work it into a cylinder or a very, very thick coil. So I'm kind of using a wedging method here to get it started, but this is not the only way to do it. You can do this if you want. The main goal is just to get it into a coil that is the height that you want your piece, and it needs to have flat ends on either side. All right, so just remember, as long as your coil is, that's going to be the height of your piece. It doesn't gain length, it gains width as we do this. So once you've got your coil, you're going to want to take a pencil and try to find the center of that flat side. Now I just eyeballed this and I thought that looked like about center, and I kind of checked it and made sure it felt as close to the center as possible. Okay, so this part is very important. Once you find the center on one side, you have to flip it over and do your best to find the center on the other side as well. When you feel confident that you have the center on both sides, you're going to take the pencil and you're going to push it through. But notice how I keep my finger on the hole on the other side. There's something about having it marked on both sides that allows you to find that center sort of magically and push that pencil through right where it's supposed to come through. So once you have your pencil through, you're going to sort of use it like a rolling pin. I used the one-handed method. I found this the easiest. You don't have to, but using one hand, rolling it back and forth, the problem is it only makes one side bigger. So you have to flip it around and do the other side. So you have to flip back and forth to do this. Once your hole gets big enough that it'll fit the rolling pin, you're going to switch out the pencil and replace it with that rolling pin in your toolkit. It's just a little bit of a bigger dowel rod, and you're going to continue the same process. Once you get your walls about the desired thickness, I was going for about 1/4 inch here. I found as I did this that it wasn't an exact circle and that some parts were thinner and some parts were thicker. So rather than continue to roll, I kind of picked it up, held it in my hands, and I used the rolling pin on the inside. Now, I wanted a circle with this, but you can at this point, since it doesn't have a floor, change it to any shape you want. You could see there, it kind of looked triangular. So if I wanted to turn this into a triangle, an oval, a square at this point, I could have done that, and you have the option to make it whatever shape you want. This is just me making it into a circle, using that rolling pin and working those thick areas and trying to make it as circular as possible. Before you're finished and you let it set to leather hard, just take the time to kind of smooth out your rough spots. You will be carving into a lot of this, so you don't have to be a perfectionist, but just making it as nice and smooth as you can at this stage before you let it set up is a good idea. So I practiced this a couple of times on a couple different forms, and the big things to remind you is the height of it will always remain the same. I never stretched the height when I did this. I just got bigger circles width-wise. So make sure before you start the broomstick method, the height of the coil is the height you want. The other thing I found was I had a really hard time making it round for my circle. And I wanted it to be round, so it looked kind of funky here. So I found this little it was like a wire tool holder in my toolkit that was round, and it was almost exactly the same diameter. So I stuck that inside of there while the clay was soft and just sort of pinched both sides, the lips, to kind of fit it. Now you could do this with the lid of a jar, you could do this with a cup in the cabinet, just find something round that's about a similar diameter if you want it to be a circle, and then kind of pinch the clay around it, and it made me much happier because it was much more round, which is what I wanted. So that's sort of it for the first day. You need to make that cylinder and let it set to leather hard.